The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. Tuesdays here. It's Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager. Elijah Herbel, joined here in studio by the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Schmidt.
I was talking to Cleveland Rob, brother. Some ball. Hope everyone's doing all right.
You talking about his horrible situation with Deshaun Watson?
I didn't go there. I just said, hey, there's always next week for Cleveland.
Well, did you see Deshaun Watson? I did see this on Twitter. We've started off completely off tangent. But
why are they talking NFL?
There's been multiple people that have claimed to have found Deshaun Watson's burner account. It's just some guy with an absurd name that does not have any followers that is defending Deshaun Watson like nobody else in the sports world is right now. And anyway, this person, who is probably Deshaun Watson, claims that the issues of the Cleveland Browns are above number 4. It's not on Deshaun Watson. There's too many men in the huddle. That's why he's walking off the field.
Oh yeah, of course, because he's the guy that needs to walk off the field in that situation. 489-1240. Hope you're doing all right on a Tuesday with Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence. And can always follow along and watch the show on YouTube. Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio Twitter. Check both of those out. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the podcast. If you want to download that on your time, all good. We'll spend some time with Mitch Sherman, and we'll dive into the topic of parity in college football, the topic of parity in the Big Ten. Mitch Sherman with us in about 15 minutes. We'll spend some time. Michael Bruntz, 24/7 Sports. As Bruntz going to join us. And then little Vrzal, Matt Vrzal, Husker standout with us, and get his take on the first half. Get in touch and dial up if you want. 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. So you showed me something on Instagram that got me thinking. And there's some dude, is it around here, or kind of give me some context?
Oh, with the
chicken fingers.
This is at the University of Indiana.
Okay, so Nebraska's next opponent, the Fighting Hoosiers. Couple of things. I think I got to double check, like famous Hoosiers. Folks who graduated from Indiana. The one that comes to mind is Jared from Subway.
This is true.
Okay.
I watched that documentary too.
I didn't want. Hey, there you go, Indiana.
Mark Cuban.
Yeah. I was gonna say Cubes, and I didn't. But yeah, that offsets one with the other.
Olympic swimmer Mark Spitz.
Okay.
Booker T. Jones.
Yeah.
Laverne Cox. She's in Orange is the New Black, apparently. Let's see. The former president of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins.
Can I ask, how are you president of Ireland, but you attend Indiana?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of surprised about here.
I don't know. We got plenty of time to deal with.
Sage Steele, that's the name people
Okay,
know.
good for. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, other than that, not a lot of names I recognize.
No.
The first football player listed is Caleb Porter.
Not Antoine Randall.
To be fair, Caleb Porter played European football, not American football.
Sure.
So,
anywho, so yeah, we'll ease into Indiana.
It's bye-week discussion time. We're talking about the famous graduates of Indiana.
We were talking Indiana. We were talking about these posters that are up around Indiana about somebody doing a chicken finger challenge.
He's attempting on this Saturday, which is the Indiana bye week, at the dining hall. He's inviting people to come watch him. I should say him or her take down 25 chicken fingers.
Could you do it? Have you done it?
25's a lot.
Right? I mean, there's a couple of wing spots that we've gone to, and their ploy a lot of times is the buy one, get one for those of us that are thrifty. And I think the most I've done is 20, and that's wings. I've not done, this was back in my heavier days.
Okay. I was going to say, post high school football practice, I could maybe get down 20 wings.
Okay.
It's an impressive performance.
No, I was in my 40s. I was in my 40s when I took down 20 wings.
It was just a Tuesday night.
It was just a Tuesday. I said, give me a couple of beers, and hell, let's order some more. It's free. And then I paid for it when I got home, and then the next morning, and it was what it was. But done the wings, but I've not done the chicken fingers. We got to get a hold of old Hooksy, Bill Hooks, Slim Chickens. God love him for Real Red Reaction. And we could probably, this is absolutely pandering, see if we could do it.
Live on the air.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'd be enthralling content for people to listen to us stuffing our faces.
They can watch us. Actually, we should do cut-ups of film work.
Yeah, we'll make
post on social media.
A special social
we
content.
We will not destroy the sanctity of the 2 hours we get every day with eating on air.
So after a wedding this past spring, which involves, dancing and drinking and other things that make you hungry, there was the
cake.
There was the meal at the reception, but then a nice touch, which I enjoyed, was as the dance floor was starting to clear out, here comes, I won't name the establishment, a place around the Midwest, and I guess around the South as well. It's famous for chicken fingers and lemonade, and that's about it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, whatever. It doesn't matter. Chicken fingers. Anyway, they cater in a whole bunch of chicken fingers, and I was hungry. I was like, this is perfect timing. I was considering, trying to drove through McDonald's on the way home, but the chicken fingers come, and I'm like, I'm going to hammer these. 5? And you're feeling it. That's a lot.
Okay.
5 chicken fingers? That's a lot of chicken.
It is, but are we talking, are they tiny? Are they huge? Or are they're somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between. Pretty average chicken finger size. 25? You think about that? I mean, how many chicken breasts is that, essentially? Because you're taking the tender.
Okay. 2? Cut a chicken breast in half. 3 maybe?
I'd say
3 per breast.
3 tenders per breast, probably.
That's fair.
So we're talking, how many chicken breasts are you eating here if you're taking down 25? 9? 8? Somewhere in there? It's a lot of chicken to take down.
It sounds okay, though.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. Oh. I mean, I air fry them? Oh, yeah, dude. Or smoke them? Be okay.
So deep fried chicken fingers is my way to go.
Does this dude get it done on Saturday at the Indiana University cafeterias is my question. So Elijah showed me that on Instagram. I was like, have I ever done 25 chicken fingers? Junior probably has. That kid had some scam going with his dirty little buddies.
A chicken finger scam?
Well, yeah. The Econo size would show up from DoorDash where they'd have fries, they'd have the toast, and then they'd have it was like, let's feed a football team size.
Yeah.
And he just kept going. I don't know. I have to ask him tonight.
Really?
The most chicken fingers you've hammered down. Let's get our starting 5 shout-outs. The other Dave is here. Mr. Erickson is in. We'll take your comments. The most chicken fingers you have consumed in one sitting. Maybe you set a personal record this Saturday with an amazing day of college football. Uncle Larry is here. Arlo checks in. Justin, good to have you. Great Red Shark. I'm early because the bye week of excitement. Yeah, I hear you. Walter is in. IU is scoring 47.5 a game, allowing 14.8. Dun, dun, dun. Tiger Shark wants to know if Scott Frost will be the new Jets head coach. Probably not. We got on some weird discussion points before the show. Most chicken fingers you've ever ate, and the goodwill donations by coaches over the years.
Welcome to bye-week discussion points.
It's
like off-season talking points, just a little bit more, I don't know,
We'll dive into the parody, I promise. NASCAR Eric is back. Jim is here. Red Knight 79. Good to have you, Red Knight. Brent here. Loose Lips checks in. Brian, good to have you. And we'll get to more comments as we move forward. Anonymous checks in. I'm setting the line on James Williams sacks versus Indiana at 2 over under. You know, I'll go 1.5.
Give us a hook. Give us a hook on that. Make it more fun.
Excuse me. So let's talk parity for a minute here. And college football is just incredible. We love it. We wait all year for it. We get it. We blink. We're already halfway home, Elijah. And I think with the setup in college football, you have meaningful games each week more times than not. You do in the SEC. I mean, just case in point, look at the stretch that Ole Miss is on. You and I both kind of like Lane Kiffin. You've been down to Ole Miss a few times. That's probably another team you keep an eye on.
Yep.
And what's their last 3-week stretch been? It has been, oh, dear God, you lose at home to Kentucky. Oh, you go from that to you're on the road at South Carolina. That looked like a death trap. They go handle business and roll.
Yeah.
And now, hey, back at it, you go to LSU at night. Okay? Looking at Ohio State, just case in point. Their stretch, Iowa, they handled Iowa in the second half. They're at Oregon. They get a bye. Here comes Nebraska. And then it's not that, I don't know. That gets into the whole...
The mid-level of the Big Ten.
The mid-level, because their stack is Oregon by Nebraska, Penn State. And it was started with Iowa. Mm-hmm. So everybody's got this stacked schedule where there are no easy days off. Matt Rule dove into it yesterday a little bit, and I want to go here with just what college football is. And it is deep. It is pretty even. Now, it's not an even playing field with NIL, but it's better than it's been with talent spread over rosters.
I'm not surprised by it. Let me say that. I mean, the team they had at James Madison, I mean, was an excellent team. And the world's changed. You know, you come somewhere now, a lot of your good players come with you, right? So they brought over a lot of guys who know how to win. They have a great coaching staff. And you know, the Signetti family, if you're from where I'm from, that's a legendary coaching family. They, Coach Signetti Sr. was as good as there was. And, both brothers are excellent. You know, Kurt's a great coach. He's turned every place around that he's been. And, 2 years ago they had a pretty good team, or 3 years. It's not like Indiana's been in the gutter for them. They've had good seasons. And he comes in with swagger. He's got a really good quarterback transferred in. They brought some good players. They had some good players that were already there. They've got great wideouts. And they're rolling, right? They're following his demeanor, and they play with a lot of confidence and swagger. And so it's great. Again, it goes back to what I said all training camp of looking at the schedule before the season and saying what games are easy and what games are hard is not true, and it's not the way of college football anymore. Everyone's got to get that in. Like how many teams lost to teams that you would have never thought Alabama would ever lose to Vandy. You never would have thought maybe USC would lose to Minnesota. The portal, transfers, and it's changed all of it. That's why there's no undefeated NFL teams, right? So, it used to be that a player would say, man, I got offered from, whomever, Ohio State. I'm going there, But now he might get offered, I might get offered from Blue Mountain State, let's just say. And that's the top school in the country. And they're offering, hey, we'll give you, X amount of money. And another school that was 2 pegs lower on the pecking order of recruiting will say, hey, we'll give you 3 times that. Because for this guy, he's their 15th best recruit. But for them, they're like, well, we can't get those guys. Let's get him. So now that kid's like, do I go there for $50,000 or do I go there for $250,000? So all of a sudden so why were the great teams of the 90s and 2010s, why were they so dominant? They stacked up all the talent. And when guys got hurt, the next guy came in was also a Parade All-American. Now the Parade All-Americans are all spreading out a little bit more. So it's just different. So the days of it's just different now. So I think Indiana is a tremendous example of that. It's a completely different roster this year than it was next year. You guys got stuck with me. Like I said, I didn't get to bring anybody with me. I love Bryant, but he can't play. They didn't let me bring McCaffrey. They didn't let me bring Brian Burns. So we came in here and we just been building with the guys that were here and trying to recruit. Just kind of a little more the old school way. But you know what? Like, people that are moving now, it's just a different world. So we all have to just adjust to it.
And it's been weird to adjust. We'll hear from an Alabama fan that has not adjusted till last Saturday. And it's been an adjustment winning the football game for some Nebraska fans 14-7, where, all right, 14 rip, and then it got tight. And the bigger picture is, Nebraska's learning how to win. That's the on-the-job that's going on. The reality is Illinois is a good football team, but they're not going to be immune to maybe stubbing their toe. And there's a lot more chances. You got a lot of toes to stub, I guess is what I'm saying, in the world of college football. And Matt Rule just illustrated that, where Indiana's flipped because they're darn good, and they were able to do it within 6 months.
And what does that mean for Nebraska? I mean, as you look at it, it's just there's fewer and fewer teams in college football. I can count maybe 2 or 3 across all of college football right now that you can expect to roll in and just roll over a mid-tiered team in their conference. It's not the reality of college football anymore. The gap between bad teams and good teams is still there, but the gap between your average teams and your good teams is so small right now.
It's tiny. You have about 4 or 5 teams and then everybody else. Mitch Sherman's with us as Hail Varsity continues.
It's that time.
Psst. Hey, Mitch. Mitchie. We're looking for you, pal.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, talking Big Red.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Unleash the fury!
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We have Arlo in the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube. Like and subscribe, can watch the show that way. He says, boys, do the chicken finger challenge on the stream, so the stream folks can cheer you on.
This could be like a Saturday post-show exclusive.
I don't know. We'll see. There's an Indiana student that is throwing the thunder down, saying, I will eat 25 chicken wings at the IU cafeteria.
We don't even know who
Saturday.
the student is. They're just going to putting up signs around campus
all around
saying,
campus.
Come cheer me on.
Not beware of the Huskers. Mitch Sherman is with us from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Locked on Nebraska, his pod, a must listen to. Mitch, how about your Royals, man? Good on KC last night.
Oh, it was so good to beat Carlos Rodon after that little show in the first inning.
Yes, I could picture you on your couch seething.
It wasn't as bad until I saw it on social media. Like, it was hard to. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't looking closely enough. I had it on a big TV, so no excuse not to see it. But what? I can't even say what I want to say. And the same thing with Juan Soto. Like, I want to beat these guys like 10 times worse now than I did going into the series, and that's what the Royals playing, which goes without saying that I always wanted to beat them.
There's that Yankee arrogance that folks who don't like the Yankees absolutely see and believe in, and that's why you want to hammer them. It's the Yankees. It's Notre Dame. It's in some corners of the college football world, it's Nebraska. But I was thinking about you last night watching it, man.
I've never really had a big problem with the Yankees, and I'm just a little bit too young to have any memory of the late 70s, 1980 playoffs. I mean, I was alive, but not remembering and not watching or anything like that.
You weren't coherent.
So, yeah, right. Too young. But with that as a footnote, I've always been pretty much okay with the Yankees, and like aware of their arrogance and the fact that they try to buy championships and hilariously haven't won one in 15 years and are still arrogant. But I enjoy Yankee Stadium. It's one of the favorite venues that in baseball and going around to stadiums. And the old one was fantastic. I like the new one, but they took took a turn for the worse in my view last night with the way that they tried to show up at the Royals, and then it was very nice to see them lose. I don't care who they were playing, acting that way. It's nice to see them lose. So let's just go win the next two in KC and not even have to go back there.
Are you going down?
No, I'm not. I got things going on this week. I'm enjoying the week, and I mean, I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm depriving my 13-year-old. But it's my daughter's birthday this week, and she would be very unhappy if I went and didn't take her. So I suppose I could take her, but the other kid deserves to go more because he watches all the games all summer. So we're gonna be watching on TV.
Well, good on you. Good on you.
Do you have? Cause I saw this
maybe
yesterday.
in the championship series.
No, good idea.
See, I saw this yesterday, Mitch, and it raised my eyebrows considering what Schmidt's doing tomorrow. I saw that there was a guy named Schmidt starting for the Yankees tomorrow, and I'm like, was that why Schmidt is skipping out in the show tomorrow?
I think, isn't that right? What's his for? Clark Schmidt, is that right?
Any relation, Schmidt?
Is that your alter ego, Schmidt?
Brother, if you would have seen me throw pitches in high school or junior high, there is no shot. Now, Junior's got a wicked slider. It just needs to find home plate and not the other, the batter's hip. So
I thought you were going to make the joke that if he's on the bump for the Yankees, you'd load up at the sports book on the Royals.
Oh, I would totally. I would bet against my own kid. It'd be
Another
right.
C. Schmidt, correct? I mean, you got two C. Schmidts. Yeah. All right. Well, if it's actually one of you guys going out there tomorrow, let me know, and I'll I don't know what I'll do, but I'll
place your bets accordingly.
Yeah, bet against.
Exactly.
Let's dive into Nebraska. We were getting into parity and just kind of the pitfalls of college football, Mitch, with Bama, but also just how there's no week off, or there's less of a sure thing in college football week to week, not just the big weekends like this weekend. And as you look at Nebraska, and we hit pause for the bye week, and how would you assess Nebraska from a focus and handling their business standpoint? I know the record's 5-1, but just moving forward, that part of their football mentality, identity, is what? Do you feel pretty good about Nebraska's focus week in, week out?
Yeah, it seems okay. I mean, it could be better like anything else, like everything else. But, as you said, Schmidt, this is college football, and there's not a whole lot of reason to be disappointed. I know fans are going to be fans, and the media's in the same category. People are going to walk out of stadiums disappointed after wins. I think we're going to have to learn as a college football public to not do that. Certainly not in a conference game. So if you can make the kinds of mistakes, you're not trying to make mistakes, but if you can do the things that have happened to Nebraska, that should be fixable. Sometimes on offense and defense, you are who you are. And I will say that's maybe the one silver lining with these special teams issues is that special teams are things that you can fix. You can put different players out there. You can jumble the scheme. There are options galore. Not necessarily with a kicker or a punter, and we've seen the kicking issues for sure. But the blocked kicks here in the last 2 weeks, you have to have a snapper, and they've got to get that fixed. But I think I have more faith in Nebraska's ability to fix that kind of stuff than I do in if these were offensive or defensive issues that we were looking at as just crippling. So the fact that Nebraska's won these two games, this is where I was going, while having 2 kicks blocked in both of them in the Big Ten, you ought to feel good. I mean, if you're following this team and thinking about what can happen and what's already happened, 5-1 is a desirable place to be for the vast majority of teams in college football.
It's Mitch Sherman with us here, and as we discuss kind of the changing landscape, the parity of college football, Mitch, I mean, whenever I was growing up, it kind of felt, at least to me, like there was a gap between, say, the top 15 teams in the country and everybody else. The top 15 was its own thing, and then 15 to 35. It almost feels like now, whenever you look at it, it's kind of the top 5 and everybody else. Do you think that the group of the teams at the top is getting smaller while the mid-level team is getting bigger? Is that what you're seeing?
On any given week, it might be the top 3 instead of the top 5, and then those schools can can change. They can come in and out. I mean, Alabama was at the top of that list last week and will be again, I'm sure. But for one day, it was not. I don't know if you call it parity or what the exact definition of parity is, but it's definitely a different. It's a much changed landscape, and it was interesting to hear Matt Rule kind of weigh in on that a bit in talking about how NIL has changed the game. And we got a Blue Mountain State reference from Rule yesterday at his press conference, and
great TV show.
He joked about not being able to bring McCaffrey and Brian Burns, the great defensive end, with him from Carolina. Like it is very much a different world, and it's different from even when he coached at Baylor. So I think that, it's a big jumbled mess from like 3, 4, or 5, well, not 4, 5, or 6, all the way down until you get into the teams that are maybe around 40th in the country. They can all just kind of rise up or down week by week.
Mitch, as we look at the Big Ten kind of tiers and hierarchy as we get to recess here, where would you slot Nebraska? Who would they be behind? Who would they be in front of?
Yeah, I kind of did this. Thanks for asking. I kind of did this in an experiment where Austin Meek, our Michigan writer, and myself, we ranked the remaining schedules for all of the Big Ten teams, and then listed the 5 most difficult and the 5 easiest in a story that's posted today on The Athletic. And to be able to formulate what I had as the 5 hardest and 5 easiest, I had to give a ranking to every team and create kind of a tier system. And I had Nebraska in the 3rd tier out of 5, and that was the biggest group. That group had Iowa, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Illinois. There were a couple others in that group too. Maryland may have been in there. So I had Indiana and USC and probably Michigan ahead of Nebraska. And then obviously at the top, you have Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. So we'll see if Indiana has staying power. We'll see what happens with Michigan. I'm giving Michigan the benefit of the doubt because I think its talent is strong, even without having much at all of a passing game. I think Michigan is on a bit of a different level. And it's strange to say that I had Washington in the same tier as Nebraska when Washington just beat Michigan last week. So it's not a foolproof ranking system by any means. But I think Nebraska squarely fits in that 3rd group. That's
fair. I mean, there's teams, Mitch, that I think Nebraska on a given Saturday can go win that football game. Indiana, Iowa, USC, Washington. I think they could beat them for sure.
I throw Michigan in there. Michigan
and I think they could.
Attack.
Yeah, I think they could beat Michigan too. Now, is your second half, and I know Nebraska's working on that, going to look like it did against Rutgers? Maybe, and you still get it done because of your defense. I'm fascinated to see Ohio State flex the back half of their schedule, Penn State and their trip out to SoCal, and then this Oregon and Ohio State matchup is really going to be cool because, Oregon's got all the hype. They've won, but they haven't looked great. So, who are they really? So it's going to be a good second half, man.
That game is exciting, and I'm glad it's in Eugene because I think Ohio State is the more complete team. So the chances for it to be down to the wire game, I think, are higher with it being out in Oregon than if it were played at the Horseshoe. So that game is exciting. I think the Penn State-USC game is exciting. I mean, USC's taken it on the chin in just a couple of rough and tumble. I mean, to think that the Big Ten schedule makers sent USC to Michigan and Minnesota in 2 of its first 3 games, and then gave them Wisconsin at home in the 3rd. And this isn't the same kind of Wisconsin team that we've seen in recent years, but welcome to the Big Ten. Like, we're going to give you the Big Teniest of Big Ten teams and put you twice on the road, and that's not like going to Michigan and Minnesota in November, but still, it's a far cry from LA. So how does USC bounce back? That's something that I have my eye on from a Nebraska perspective, because I want to know what kind of a toll this is going to take on USC. Now you play those three, and then you got Penn State coming in. So just another of these physical battles. What's USC going to look like when it's all over with? Are they still going to be able to be the same USC team that can feature so many of its athletes on the field, or are they going to be kind of beaten to a pulp? And that matters, of course, for Nebraska on November 16th.
Mitch, we'll holler again, bud. Enjoy your week.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to Mitch Sherman. You caught part of that, all of it. Want to hear it again or missed it? Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, the podcast is where you can go. Hail Varsity YouTube, like and subscribe there. And Twitter, at HVarsity Radio. Is there a shelf life for me saying Twitter versus X? Am I okay, or do I need to get on board?
The thing is Twitter built up 15 years of name recognition. It's always going to be Twitter to me.
Sure.
People will call it X, and in my head, it's like whenever you start learning Spanish and someone says a word and you instantly translate it in your head to English as opposed to like actually thinking in that language, which is I've not reached this point, but apparently the bilingual people can kind of it's not about translating it necessarily, like you hear it and you instantly understand it as opposed to translating it. I do that with Twitter. Someone calls it X and I go, oh, Twitter.
Well, we have 40 plus years of name recognition based on performance with our friends at Neiman & Sons.
Wow, that's a great transition.
Your friends at Neiman & Sons want you to know that maybe it's time for a new roof, siding, gutters, and they will make that happen for you. It's family run. Of course, Trent and Travis and the crew, the family is awesome. We love them. And what they've done is provide 40-plus years of incredible service when it comes to exterior and commercial or residential exterior services, plus custom lighting. Yeah, you want to make mama smile with the Griswold house on the block? They can take care of the exterior lighting.
Did your wife say it's a bye week? It's a great chance to put up those Christmas lights.
She has never asked me.
Oh, never? Someone out there has. I guarantee it.
She has never asked me to put up lights.
I'm saying,
and now I might actually get lights this year.
Someone out there is going to resonate with what I said.
I will check in on the exterior custom lighting option with the Neiman & Sons. They've been involved in the community, dedicated to improving their community. They reflect the values, their hard work, their local involvement with youth football, Elijah. Youth football. Good. I've corrected myself since last Thursday with the league I used to play in when I was a little youth.
I played in it as well.
Trusted professionals. They're fully licensed. They're accredited. They built solid reputation. 4 decades of quality service and customer trust. Give Neiman & Sons a call today, 402-423-4853, or log on neimanandsons.com. So we're talking the topsy-turvy nature of college football any given week, right? Well, it happened last Saturday in Nashville. Wish it could have been there for that party. But what's your Nebraska-Vanderbilt moment? And I want to take you to a Feinbaum call where a Bama fan lost his mind. This phone caller's nicknamed the Legend. And he lost it. He lost it. Take a listen. You've been there. We've heard you call in on Real Red Reaction over the years on those head-scratcher losses. Bama's been pretty immune to them, but not necessarily the case last Saturday. This is what was going on in Tuscaloosa.
Paul, I'm in sports hell, brother. I'm in sports hell. I never thought I would utter these words. Vandy is my daddy. Can you believe that? Vandy is my daddy. Do you hear that, Coach DeBoer? That don't piss you off, dude. It pisses me off. It pisses me off, Coach DeBoer. Alabama don't lose to Vandy. We don't lose to Vandy. That is friggin' pathetic, Coach DeBoer. 40 years, dude. 40 years. Bill Curry didn't lose to Vandy. Mike DeBose didn't lose to Vandy. Mike Shula didn't lose to Vandy.
He is
40 years.
saying all the losers
You've
they
been
hate
here
in
4
Alabama.
weeks and you already lost to Vandy. Strike friggin' one, dude. Strike friggin' one. The honeymoon's not only over, but we need some serious marriage counseling between me and you, dude. This is equivalent to coming home and finding your wife in bed with the neighbor. You can never trust her again. You might stay with her for the kids' sake, but you could never trust the woman again. And the same thing's true with Coach DeBoer. You can win a natty, we can't trust your ass now. You don't lose to Vanderbilt. That's the ugliest little sister on the block. You don't lose to Vanderbilt. You just don't friggin' do it, dude. The honeymoon's over, and we need some damn marriage counseling. Legend has left the damn building.
Away he goes. So, you just beat Georgia. You killed Georgia for a half. And the high, it was so high. Well, 2 weeks ago, and the low is so low. So I'm wondering, do you have a Husker Vandy moment? Is there a loss that, because Nebraska fans, brother, growing up here, you rightfully so had Kansas, K-State, Oklahoma State, most of the Big Eight, not named Colorado or Oklahoma, were on the Vandy list. And even as you kind of dominated a lot of the Big 12 over the years, it's not that way now. Don't get me twisted at all with where Nebraska's at versus where some of the elites in college football are at. But there's been a lot of my Vandy moment where you just pull your hair out. I was a kid, but Nebraska lost at Iowa State to our dear friend Jim Walden in '92. Like, you can't do that. And T.O. he did it once, right, to a non-ranked team with a sub-500 record. But there's been more and more Vandy moments where it really just kind of showed where the program was at.
Well, one of the things that we had to cut for brevity was the caller legend talking about how his neighbor, after the Georgia win, had gifted him a signed picture of Kalen DeBoer. And he said, following the Vandy game, I threw that thing in the fire.
Ooh. Yeah. Wow. And I love DeBoer.
Me too.
And they'll get to a playoff this year.
But I think it just speaks to how incredible it was Nick Saban's record. What was the stat I sent you on Saturday that across Nick Saban's entire 10-year Vandy had scored like 17 points on Bama?
Yeah.
And then
they played old Saban saying, well, you don't have to worry about Vandy on the big screen before they ran out.
What was the game that made you want to burn your Husker memorabilia? To me, it was Nebraska-Georgia Southern. And that comes from the younger generation.
No, that's fine. I remember sitting in a bar with Will trying to get ready for a post game. Like, dude, can I just spill all this vodka on my computer? Because I don't want to deal. But you've seen 100 of them, and I think that bleeding has stopped. Kent emails in Chris@HailVarsity.com. In Bama's defense, at least it was on the road. Vandy's a better team this year. They're probably bowl eligible. We'll get there.
They're not better than Bama.
No, they're not. But
they were for one day Saturday.
We've lost to Northern Illinois. We've lost to Troy. We've lost to Georgia Southern at home. Get a grip. You know?
Yeah, there's been plenty over the past day. Northern Illinois was really bad.
That was awful. That was game 2 of the Frost era.
Well, and you felt great because... Oh, wait, which Northern Illinois loss are we talking about?
See, that's the problem. You can point to the Riley Northern Illinois loss.
That's the one I think about.
And you can point to, they're posing. They're posing in the end zone.
Because Nebraska drives the ball like 80 yards, and Tanner Lee throws a 99-yard pick six in the opening drive.
That was rough.
Memorial Stadium was immediately deflated.
I was looking for folks on the top tier of the East Stadium after 2 weeks in a row of pick sixes, because I think Rutgers took one back to the house that same season. We'll wind down hour 1. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. We've got Ken weighing in with his chicken finger tears. As he's, this is a blast. As a kid, we ate these all the time. Well, I should say once a week when Mom worked and was bringing dinner home. The Long John Silver's chicken tender / finger is a solid blast from the past, Ken. And Man, it sounds pretty good. I have not been into one since the 1980s, but you're not wrong here. Jack is going Runza or Culver's.
Go back. If your family was getting Long John Silver's tenders every single week, I mean, you had money. I was getting the Sam's Club bulk tenders that you had to throw in the oven.
This was drive-through, all right? There used to be, I think...
actual cheap drive-through restaurants, because those have gone away.
I think on 48th and Van Dorn, in Lincoln, there used to be a Long John Silver's. I think where a burrito joint is now. Okay, back in the day, and Mom would work. Her long work day was Wednesdays.
You're talking over by Lincoln Southeast?
Yes.
Yeah. I know
right.
What you're talking about.
I think I'm right there. And she'd either hit the KFC or the Long John Silver's because she wouldn't be home for dinner, so she'd bring it home to us. Now, there was occasion where they'd have me do pizzas. I'd make pizzas on Wednesdays when I got home from school, and no one died, so they let me do that a couple times a month.
Yeah, no, we were big, especially into like middle school and high school. My dad just had the bulk chicken tenders from Sam's Club you threw in the oven. They never quite got crispy enough for your liking.
Hey, Dad, can you pass the sauce? That's enough sauce, Elijah.
No, my dad's solution was absolutely he'd get the hoagie buns and you'd go throw the chicken strips on the sandwich so the breading didn't matter and just throw whatever sauces you like on there. That was the lazy meal of choice.
No, dude, it's fine.
My dad was the ultimate. Why would we go anywhere for chicken strips? We have chicken strips at home.
They're in the freezer.
Yeah.
They can survive a nuclear blast.
Love you, Dad.
No, I get it. But no, I like the ranking, Ken. Keep them coming here because some Indiana fan's going to try and hammer 25 in a sitting on Saturday. What's the most you've ever done? And I think maybe I've done 12. I think I did 8 because I had my 5 and then I think I ate 3 of Aaron's.
See, me and
back in the day.
Me and I guess you'd call it 3.5 other buddies because one of them was skinny and didn't really count. He didn't really hold his weight. We knocked down 100 wings at B-Dubs one time back in high school.
100?
Yeah.
What's the we? How many?
I said me plus 3.5.
Okay.
Because there was one guy, it was 5 people, but one guy was skinny and wasn't a big eater, so he maybe had like 5 to 10 wings. I think everyone else at the table had to consume between 20 and 30.
That's a day.
Yeah.
It's a good day.
That was a great day. Great day.
Get buckled up. Remember to do it. Hands on the wheel, eyes and mind straight ahead. The driver has one job. That's to drive. A message from the NDOT. Highway Safety Office will spend some time with Bruntz. Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7 Sports. Which is, you Bronco fans can hug one another now.
There's people predicting the Broncos to make the playoffs, which is out there, but as of right now, the defense is playing the best of any team in the NFL, which they don't have any superstar names aside from Pat Surtain. They have a white corner, and it's working great.
Wow. Patrick Surtain's awesome. He looks incredible. Matt Vrzal coming up in hour 2 at Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back into it at Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Bye week, but he's always working. Michael Bruntz with us from Husker 24/7 Sports. Can follow Bruntsy on Twitter at Michael Bruntz. Bruntz, what do you do during the bye week? What's the plan of attack at the Bruntz household?
So I got one kid's got a birthday this week, so that's taken up a lot of oxygen. As you, especially with little kids, it's not like one day of birthday; it's like a freaking week. So we're getting ready for that. And then, the stuff that I've put off doing for the last 6 weeks. So might have to get up on a ladder, do a little gutter repair, something like that. I don't know, but I'm not having fun on the bye week. It's more of a put your head down and keep working kind of a thing.
So
it's like Nebraska.
Good. Way to tie it back to football. So there's no sneak off to a golf course. There's no exhale, put your foot up, feet up. It's nose to the grindstone for you, huh?
Yeah. You get the flannel on, which is probably a bad move this time of year, as hot as it is. You get the little tool belt on, you get up on a ladder, and you get your Bob Vila on. That's what you do during the bye week.
Respect to you, because I'm going to be watching college football all day Saturday.
Did you go to the library to get the do-it-yourself books, or do you own them? 10 installments.
Yeah, I own the whole set. They got me on that. So I've got this old house, the dog-eared editions of those sitting on the roof next to me as I try to figure out what the heck I'm doing.
Okay, well, I will say This Old House, banger of a magazine, great show as well on PBS, fantastic. That's a free shout out, but love This Old House. So hat tip to you.
Bruntzy's going to be carving the Too Deep out of ivory soap in his pocket knife. The 5 minutes of downtime he gets. Things that you need to get better the next 6 weeks for Nebraska football.
Well, special teams is probably a good place to start. I mean, getting that whole organization pointed in the right direction would be a good place to go. The run game piece of it, I'm Matt Rule on Monday talked about how, you kind of have a wealth of skill position players that you're having to spread the ball around to. And, the thought there is that that becomes significantly easier if you're moving the ball on the ground. And Nebraska has not done that with enough regularity yet. And you saw, against Rutgers, that was a windy game. You're going to play windy games in, the next 6 weeks and certainly in November. And you're going to have to be able to rely on that running game a little bit. So a little bit more consistency there. You'd love a big player, too, from that if you can get it as well. So I think I'd probably start there. Defensively, you're kind of you kind of turn things around going into the bye week, too. I mean, you get healthy on that side of the ball, but I think special teams and the run game are two areas that probably will get a little bit of attention this week with Nebraska and Matt Rule.
It's Michael Bruntz with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And as we turn our attention to the back half of the season, Michael, have your expectations changed regarding this football team based on what you've seen through the first 6? I mean, a lot of people were talking about the potential to be bowl eligible before you head to Columbus, and that's still there depending on what happens against Indiana. So with that in mind, have your preseason expectations changed just with what this back half of the season could look like?
No, I don't think so. I think I had Nebraska at 8-4 at the start of the year, and you kind of took a different route. You got away from the sat nav and where it was telling you to go in certain places on the way to 5-1. But I think the games that they were supposed to win, and I kind of expected them to win, they did. I kind of figured there'd be a game where they stubbed their toe. I chose the wrong one. I picked Rutgers, and it was Illinois. So that kind of has gone, I think, closer or in the ballpark of how I would have expected it. I mean, I think Indiana's success, I don't know that I would have seen that coming right out of the gate. They haven't still played anybody that really kind of worries you, but I think that's a game that's gonna the degree of difficulty is a little bit higher than I would have said at the start of the season. I think a lot of people would too. So, it's there for Nebraska. I mean, if you can get that defense playing well, and I think they're trending in a positive direction, if you can get the offense to kind of get out of its own way a little bit more in certain areas, I think you'll be okay. And special teams, you just need to be neutral there. I mean, that's kind of the ceiling in my mind, is as long as you're not hurting yourself on special teams, you're okay there. But, I think it's there for Nebraska to get to 8 or 9 if things kind of break well for them and they play good football. So I have not changed my expectations based on what's transpired through the first 6 weeks of the season.
We hit on this a little bit earlier, and I think they can find ways to win. They've done that, and they've not been dominant for 4 quarters of a football game, Bruntz, but they've been dominant enough, and they've had moments or sides of the football step up and slam the door. So that's comforting if you're a Nebraska fan. But the discomfort for me is, all right, they can correct punt block, all right, or protection. They'll watch that film all day, every day for this week. From a field goal kicking standpoint, does that get straightened out so you can at least get out a red zone area with points? And we'll see with Alvano's health. But the run game is what concerns me. And is it something they turn to more Harburg? And I know that Rule was asked about that. You can bring in the Wildcat and have a 1-2 running back punch with the quarterback running back run game. And the downside of that is, well, you got a pretty damn good quarterback as is with Dillon behind center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the rub with the Wildcat stuff is you're taking your best player off the field to do it. And, you know, I get the question a lot, you know, what's Nebraska's identity right now on offense? I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily one thing. I think the thing that they would probably say over there is they trust their quarterback to make good decisions and distribute the ball. I mean, that's not a run-first type mentality, but I don't know that this team is ever going to be a team that's going to line up and run for 200 yards on teams. I don't know if the personnel is there to do that. And I agree with you. I mean, if you're in a tight game in the fourth quarter, is this the group that you can trust to get you 75 yards in the fourth quarter or kind of bleed the clock like Nebraska wants to do and let that defense win you the game? I don't know. So I think that's a good question. And you know, the thing with Harburg is I think sometimes in game preparation, you're kind of limited in kind of the new stuff that you can add in. I don't know if that changes with the bye to not have to prepare for a game right away, and that allows you to maybe add some things that you didn't have in the playbook before. I don't know, but that might be one potential avenue to finding more stuff on the ground. It's, you know, just the rub is you're having to take Dillon off the field, or at least, you know, mitigate his threat to do it.
What'd you make of Matt Rule's answer on Monday when asked about it? Did it strike you as potentially a disconnect between head coach and play caller whenever he's asked how do you get Harburg more involved? And it's essentially Matt Rule saying, yeah, we want to get Harburg more involved. But then he goes on to say, but there's a lot of guys within the offense and a lot of guys need touches and yada, yada, yada. Did that strike you as a little bit weird? Because that struck me as just a little bit weird. I want to get somebody else's take.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of said that before, too, that, you know, they want to use him more. I think it's how do you do it, and how do you kind of do it with, you know, what you have on offense. I mean, I think that's been a bit of a challenge for this team in year two is you have Ja'Cory Barney, you have Jalen Lloyd, you have Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair. Like, you are significantly improved at a number of positions. You'd like to get Thomas Fidone the ball. And it seems like, you know, that they've done an okay job at times of spreading it around, but maybe not, in others. So is Heinrich Harburg a part of that? Can they find a bigger role for him? I think there has been a little bit of hesitation, too, to just, you know, run him out there as an H-back or something like that beyond just a Wildcat situation because he is the backup quarterback and they don't want him to get hurt. I mean, I think that's a legitimate concern on their part. So I guess I didn't hear that as a critique of Satterfield and the way that they've done things. I do think as a staff, though, there needs to be a little bit more focus on how you're spreading the ball apart from Harburg, because I mean, a guy like Jalen Lloyd that was, you know, a really explosive piece of your offense last year, just as an example, has not been that, you know, consistently enough this year. I mean, I'd like to see more for him, more of the deep stuff to Nair. I mean, those types of things that I think are in there, and Nebraska has the ability to do them. It's just a matter of kind of how you organize things and from the top down.
When you look at the back half, and Bruntz, we'll get to some Denver Bronco love for you and Elijah in a moment, but as you look at the back half, have you broken it down into defensive ball game, Nebraska's going to need to score this game, or, you know, XYZ when we look at the matchup potential? how does Nebraska's offense match up with this stretch? We know Iowa is going to be problematic. We know Ohio State's going to be a pain in the neck. But as far as, the SCs and Indianas of the world, and, Wisconsin's kind of in that gray area between Iowa and Ohio State for me. I mean, they're typically a physical defense. UCLA, who knows what UCLA shows up. They'll scare you for a half. But how much of this back half is going to be on the offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be on the offense to do what it's done to this point in terms of not turning the ball over. I mean, that's been kind of the story of the first 6 games. And also finding just more consistent things that you can lean on. I think Rutgers is a pretty salty defense. I think they covered well. And I think that they gave Nebraska some looks that were somewhat challenging to throw against. Certainly the wind didn't help either. But, I mean, I think there's going to be games where, that Indiana game, you're going to need the offense to get close to 30 points probably. I mean, that feels like a high-scoring game. Ohio State, yeah. I mean, I think if Nebraska is going to get close against Ohio State, it's got to be a score in the low 20s. I mean, the defense has to stand in there and trade punches with Ohio State's offense. But, yeah, I mean, there's not going to be too many games left on the schedule where you're going to be able to get away with just scoring 14. So it's going to be, how do you find a few more explosive plays? I mean, that was the conversation yesterday about, are there longer runs somewhere in that offense? And you're going to have to hit on a few more of those deep balls that, to this point, it seems like they've always been pass interference calls, which is great, but you'd also like to complete some of those too. And I think that's what's been lacking, is just a little bit more explosiveness from this offense.
It's Michael Bruntz with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And as we wind things down here, about 2 minutes left, I want to get a closing thought from you on just what Nebraska's place is within the Big Ten as they reach the halfway point. We know they're not top tier. We know they're not bottom tier. There seems to be a lot of teams in the middle. How do you kind of differentiate, and where do you put Nebraska at?
What were they picked at the start of the season?
Eight or nine, or something like that.
8 or 9? I would put them slightly above that. I don't know where you separate the tiers, but I mean, I think on a good day, I think Nebraska's probably 6 to 8, and I feel like even on a bad day, and what you would say is an air quote ugly game, I still think Nebraska's probably 10 to 12. I don't feel like there's a whole bunch of variation there, and I think part of that's just how good that defense can be. But, I mean, you look around the conference right now, I mean, there's just a lot of just really flawed teams. And there's probably, Ohio State, right up there as the elite team in the conference right now. I'd put Oregon up there too. But there's a lot of teams in that kind of soggy middle right now, and I think Nebraska's probably towards the top of that group is where I'd have them.
Bruntz, 3-2 after 5 for your Donks.
Yeah. And they looked sharp, though. That was the thing on Sunday. Those uniforms were sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the appearance, not the play.
I mean, the play was good, too. Are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, I always love a quarterback head coach scream fest. I love it. I'm there for it.
Okay, you're reading so far into that.
Nix didn't back down, which I like that. I like
Sean Payton likes that, too.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I saw some stuff out of Denver today, like, do expectations need to be recalibrated? Is this a playoff team? No, it's not. It's not at all. But I think they're at least a team that when the day is right can give some teams some issues. So that's all you can really ask for.
I like it.
I'm with you. There's teams that probably it's the secondary, it's the strength of the team, and there's probably going to be teams out there that can really stress that secondary and make things difficult. But realistically, it's a team that has a defense that's good enough to be in the wild card hunt. I don't think they make a wild card, but that's their level.
They're going to be like week 16. They're still going to be towards the bottom of that in the hunt category, hoping that 4 other teams lose. That's what I think the ceiling is.
backing into the playoffs. It's all right, man. You get that Mecklenburg jersey washed up for next Sunday, okay?
Yeah, I got to switch it with my Rulon Jones jersey.
You and Rulon, baby.
Yeah.
All right, Bruntz, be good. Enjoy the week.
Take care, guys.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Let's talk a little pizza, a little football. Former Husker and Pisons man Matt Vrzal with us at Verz51. Verz, how did you treat bye weeks? Or did you love them? Did you embrace them as a player, or was it, or even as a coach, man? How did you deal with this week? I guess it depended on the year, but hitting pause can be a great thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't even remember when our bye weeks were, or if we had one. Did we have one back then?
I don't think you guys did, because you played 12, right?
No.
I mean, maybe you had a Thursday football, and then a Saturday you had a little extra here or there, or a shorter turnaround. But yeah, the implementation of bye weeks are kind of a phenomenon that we're all getting used to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a different it's a different world that we're in. So one of those things that always was good about it is, as you got done and you went through practice, there was always a game at the end of the road. Mm-hmm. So I don't know now if that's as much the case as it was before, but it's probably a better chance for coaches to just go in and get things tuned up and say, okay, well, we didn't do this, we should have done that, those type of operations. So chance to reset, chance to get healthy, those kind of things are always nice for teams. So it'll be, I'm sure there'll be work to be done. I don't think the boys should plan on anything, make any big plans. So there'll be a bunch done, but yeah, it'll be good for them to reset for a week.
Yeah, and Verz, with Indiana looming, I guess if you put your coaching hat on, do you have the guys ready for Indiana, I guess, this week? Do you have them thinking about that, or you just want their mind off of football for the weekend? I guess, what approach do you take with that, with an undefeated team looming on the horizon?
People get caught up in the opponent. When you prepare to win games, whatever sport you play, that your end goal is just to go out and be the best version of your team, you do a lot better. When you start to be, oh my gosh, Indiana's undefeated and they got this guy that we didn't know about and that guy is surprisingly good and blah, 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 it just doesn't work. When you focus on what you can take care of, which is you, and you go out and you execute your schemes and your game plan as best as you can, you have a much better chance to win games than you do worrying about who you're playing.
Matt Vrzal's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, talking Big Red at 5-1 at the bye week. Verz, overall, what do you think of this Nebraska football team being 5-1? You love the record, but it's been interesting with the 180, right? With some halves looking different and better or worse than others. Hey, they've played hard, they've played well at times, and they admit themselves far from a finished product. What's your key takeaway? What do you see in this team? Do you see 8-4, 6-6, 7-5? I mean, what stamp do you put on these guys here at the halfway point?
I said from the start, it's, people get obsessed with goals, and then they're like, oh, your goal's not high enough, your goal's too high, and blah, 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 blah. I've said from the start, it's a 7-win team. Mm-hmm. And now, after watching them play, now my goal or my thought of them is it is an 8 to 9-win team. There's nobody on their schedule outside of Ohio State that they're going to be outgunned. Okay? I know people will want to say USC is this and that, but after watching them play a few times, I don't believe that. So you now can go prepare and really fear nothing that you're not going to be drastically out-talented by anybody except Ohio State. And there's a great phrase, good teams win, great teams cover. So when you play Ohio State, you're just looking for a cover. And those are measuring stick games for you where you can figure out, hey, we're this far behind at these positions, that position. Or you go out there and you just try to be the best version of you, and you find out the best version of you in a big-time game with a future star in the making. You might be in that game more than you think. So for them, I think that my goal now for them would be to go to a bowl game where the weather is warmer than where you live.
So no Detroit in December?
No Detroit, no New York. You get to a bowl in the South. And then now you've made a nice step because this is not an overnight process. What Rule and staff have done, and it's pretty amazing, and it speaks a lot of guys that have coached. It's what you can do to the brain. Like the physical and the weights, that's all great, and it helps performance, all that stuff. Those guys now believe they can grit out a win or they can go beat somebody up and win. So it's just good to see their brains in a position where, hey, we can do this. We just have to believe we can do it. And if you believe it, you can achieve it.
It's Matt Vrzal with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Matt, I really like that about the believing and achieving. And do you think, based on what we've seen over the last two games, Purdue and Rutgers, that this team has turned the corner in terms of that mentality in close football games? Purdue was a close game in the fourth quarter. Rutgers is a close game in the fourth quarter. And it's another question, should Rutgers have been a close game in the fourth quarter? But it was. Do you think this team has taken that next step in terms of mentality, or is that a week-by-week process?
Number one, that Rutgers was going to be a close game. But Greg Schiano don't play. Like, if you have whoever went to the game and you watched that and you audibly heard hitting, like violent hitting, Shadow's teams are no joke. Like they want that. That was going to be a one-score game no matter how you chalk that up. What you're seeing out of this organization at Nebraska is they are exercising demons. We've all watched games where it's fourth quarter and it's tight, and we pucker butthole and lose. We don't do that anymore. We win those games. They had, after the punting issues, they could have folded 10. They're like, and so they're going to come back and they're going to score and they're going to go for 2 and we're going to lose by 1 at home, just what we do. But they didn't, right? They believe in what they're doing. Hey, this Purdue game is probably closer than the world thought it was going to be. No big deal. We're just going to grind. And then we're going to score and we're going to win. So these little things that happen in games where we've all watched them for years, for every season except Pelini's, it's like, oh, man, how are we going to piss this down our leg? Like, how is this not going to work for us? But these guys aren't letting that happen. That's awesome. Because to believe in stuff like that is hard because they've had years and years. Some of them have had 5 years of it going the other way. So what they're doing is great. It's not flashing. It's not 90s. I talked to one of my buddies' wives yesterday. She's ordering some pizzas, and we're talking about football, and she said, you guys ruined everybody. Because we all still think you just walk out and win. I'm like, yeah, that's long gone. We're old as balls now. Like, it isn't that way no more. But they're doing great things there at Nebraska. It's just we aren't patient enough to have it happen. We get pissed because we don't blow everybody out. Well, that's not college football anymore. We're winning games. We used to be losing games. I like this a lot better because all you got to do is win by 1 more point than they score, and that's great. And so I'm proud of them and what they do. I'm proud of that staff, and I think they're exceeding expectation right now.
Matt Vrzal's with us. Few minutes, Hail Varsity Radio. Recap in the first half. Nebraska at 5-1. Of course, you find Verz at Pisons and former Husker at Verz51 on Twitter. Verz, I want to get into the run game and also sprinkle in the quarterback topic. And Dylan's played really fun football, really beyond his years, super talented, and has had enough lessons, too, to grow going into the second half where he's not been perfect, and that's all right. Do you have an idea, a remedy, a thought on Nebraska in the second half being able to be better at running the football? They've had moments where they've ran it well. They've also had moments, and you're going to have defenses and weather conditions potentially that make it really tough to throw the football here the second half. So what's the fix? Or do you just keep grinding and you really don't have an answer for me with Nebraska being more efficient running the ball?
For me, the main thing I would want to see or have happen is the Mazuka kid, like, getting him right. And I don't know what ails him, so I'm just going to say getting him right. When he plays, they're a different offense. And to put it in the most simple terms. And listen, I think Henry has made tons of progress. I think he has looked good in these past few games with the more, and Don has done a great job of getting him where he needs him to be. But when Mazuka goes in, and this is the easiest way I can equate it, if I go out with my buddies and Clinton Childs is in our group that I go out with, I feel very confident in my night not having any drama. Right? So he gives them that attitude, that edge, that feel, like, hey, if it goes down, we're going over there. And for me, when you have a guy that you can put in that changes, that shifts that maybe little tentativeness. Hey, don't worry about it. If we get to if we get to 3rd and 3, we're going to his side. We'll tell you the play. Good luck, because he's just an ass kicker. He's a mean cuss, and he likes to get after it. And I think he changes how that offensive line operates.
A few more minutes. Matt Vrzal with us here. Hail Varsity Radio. We'll do a little OT with Verz. Reminder to tell you about Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and how they empower young people. They do a great job of mentoring and matching. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, big couples. Be a part of it today. Log on, mentoromaha.org. And Big Brothers and Big Sisters on a mission here in the month of October. They want 60 men, 60 days by October 30th. Be a big brother, be a big sister, or a big couple. Get on board with mentoromaha.org. And what's so awesome, the matching process where a big and a little get linked up. Match support specialists. They pair you perfectly. And twice a month, the littles and the bigs will meet. Grab some ice cream, shoot some hoops, get to the ball game, play some video games. Be a part of it. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, mentoromaha.org.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Matt Vrzal with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Matt, as we kind of wind it down here and go mid-season report card, Matt Rule wants the strength of this team to be those 5 guys up front, the offensive line. I'm not sure they're there yet, but I do want to get your thoughts based on what you've seen so far through 6 games. What is the biggest strength of this football team?
The biggest strength of the football team right now is their defense. And their defense is even making some mistakes that are kind of uncharacteristic, but it's still the best part of the team.
What about the defense do you think is really what Nebraska can hang their hat on moving forward?
I think their leadership. I think you have a grinder in Bullock that just leads them. And when things go bad, there's no panic in them. They know that they've blown some assignments, but there's not an all-out panic like, oh, man, I can't do this. This is blah, 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 blah. The only way that they've faltered here of late, in my opinion, is they just lose a little bit of level distrust. So, Rutgers, and thank God, offensive coordinators are stupid. Because if Rutgers just kept running the ball, we were going to have a really long day. But they wanted Andy Galifianakis to start throwing it everywhere, and he had a better chance to hit a coach on the sideline than he did a receiver. So I I thank him for that. I think we should all send him a thank you card. But they ran it pretty well, and then level 2 started to get a little antsy and maybe take some shots they didn't need to take. Then the safeties kind of started nosing up into the box and taking shots they didn't need to take. So now your level distrust is off. But as long as they trust each other and realize, hey, every now and then they may get 5-6 yards. I still just have to do my job. You saw it probably more in the Illinois game. But Coach White, like I said, there is zero doubt in my mind I would make Coach White the highest paid D coordinator in the country. I wouldn't hesitate to do it. The money's there. Pay him. Because he may not want to be head coach. And I would sell the ever-loving bejesus out of that. Are you sure you want to go deal with media, NIL, this stuff every day of the week, or do you just want to coach ball? And he may say, I just want to coach ball. I love it here. It's awesome. These kids go for me, and I go for them, and my coaches are in lockstep. This is great. But what they do and how quickly they're able to correct is awesome. Like, I really, really enjoy watching them adjust in game and do the things they're supposed to do in the game.
Matt Vrzal's with us. Verz, just the bigger picture of college football. Awesome weekend of college football. You've got Oregon hosting Ohio State, but you had the upset look-ahead weekend, man, last weekend. Just incredible with Bama going down to Vandy. That was fun, and it was pretty interesting to see Arkansas and old Pittman get a kick out of him, handling Tennessee. Are you I'm saying this is the lock of the weekend, Kentucky minus 14 over Vandy. There's no way Vandy can follow up that incredible upset where they're parading the goalposts down Broadway going into the Cumberland River. There's a police escort for 4 miles for these goalposts, dude. I mean, isn't this the absolute setup of hammer Kentucky this weekend as a lock?
Where's the game?
It's in Lexington. Vandy's got to go on the road.
Yeah, I could probably. And number one, shout out to a member of Vandy's football team from the great state of Nebraska, Dominic Rizak, plays football for Vandy, West Side alumni. I could get down with that. I could see maybe a little Broadway hangover for the Commodores. But their coach obviously had them focused up to play, so I don't know how confident I would feel in that, but you never know. That's why it's gambling.
No, Stoops in Kentucky scared Georgia. They drilled Ole Miss, and they're a little undersold. We'll see how wrong I am.
You can go the other way with that too. They may have looked past Vandy. So hey, Vandy, they got lucky last week. We don't have to worry about Vandy.
You beat Bama, you put up 40 on them. I don't know. But I get you. Are you locked in on a game specifically? What's the weekend game you're most interested in seeing?
Probably Oregon, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I think UCLA learned a couple things about life in the Big Ten when they played Penn State, that you had best to have your head on a swivel because there's some large human beings coming to hit you.
That was fun.
That would be the one that I would want to see because it's a great step for Ohio State to see really what they are, if they are, CSP or national champion contender. And then Oregon's just a good match, and Oregon's probably getting to the point like, hey man, we probably got to show somebody something here pretty quick.
Verz, I'm looking forward to the weekend. We'll bump into you again soon. Always loving talking ball with you. Thanks for a few minutes with us.
Sounds good, boys.
A few minutes with Verz. Always appreciate him. Matt Vrzal, Hail Varsity Radio. More of your comments in the stream we'll get to as we wind it down. 489-1240. 489-1240. Can dial up or just keep comments coming in the stream. Hail Varsity YouTube. So we've talked chicken fingers. We have talked football. We have talked bye week. We've also talked about the coaches on Instagram Big Ten coaches talking about they were asked, what do you do with all your old gear? We also heard from the legend down in Alabama lose his mind on the fact that Vandy beat Alabama. That was quite hilarious. So you had Sean, and I love Sean, emailing Chris at hailvarsity.com. Sean in the cornfield in the Kearney-Franklin County line. Love it. So on the topic of torching or disposing of Husker gear, because the coaches either donated most of them, some of them, the insinuation was Lincoln Riley would have liked to have gone pyro on his Oklahoma gear.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would like to go pyro on him. But I ran out of stuff to throw out. This is Sean. Halfway through the Riley experiment. So by the time Frost came along, I had to go to Goodwill and garage sales to buy Husker gear I could burn on Sunday mornings. On a more serious note, is Satterfield the answer?
He sets you up with that whole email.
He did. We go from burning your Husker gear after a Vanderbilt, your Husker Vanderbilt equivalent loss as a Nebraska fan to, is Sat the answer?
That was like Anchorman reading the teleprompters. He just knew you'd get there and say it.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. I'm Ron Burgundy?
Burgundy? Gotta do the inflection part. Is Sat the answer? He'll have a good string of play calling, and then all of a sudden a string of calls that make you want to say, what the heck is he thinking? I think he's got a difficult job of trying to get everybody the football. That said, if something's working, stay with it. Easier said than done.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
So we're getting juniors' senior pictures back. And we've got the suited version and the I shook Mom down for a tribute to Elijah's bowling shirt without the purple.
So it's a good look. That's what I said in here. He kind of looks like Fabio.
A little bit. He's got the long hair. I wonder if he's got his tie and his what's the thing that you put? I'm drawing a blank.
Pocket square?
Yeah, your pocket square. I don't have one.
Oh.
But he is going layaway with one with Uncle Nate and Uncle Gary Michaels. So I got him a couple of ties, and he's like, "Well, I want Navat's red tie." It's like, dude, have you given that back to him? Somewhere there's a German Shepherd or Labradoodle staring at a red tie, probably in his room.
See, but think about the special. You can send that back over to Gary, the picture, and be like, this is his favorite senior picture.
I've sent it.
And it's all due to the tie.
I'm going to try and work. He's no polar bear, but maybe you've got a billboard model during the non-NIL advertising campaign.
Well, I think those senior pictures turned out great. Not really much else to add. He is got a lovely flowing head of hair. That's why I say he looks like Fabio. The timing on the pictures, it's that golden hour sunset, right timing there. It's well done.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll charge me and his buddies for pictures.
Yeah. Oh, you want to use one of my senior pictures, Dad?
Dad, you can't.
$50.
Yeah,
put it on the mantle.
No, should be fun, man. You and Justice gonna hold the fort down tomorrow afternoon.
That's the plan.
I will probably be in the parking lot at some point during the show. Maybe I'll just try and connect with you in stadium.
That'd be cool.
So we'll do that. But
will you be jumping through any tables in the parking lot?
I will
Buffalo
not.
Bill style?
I will not. So I think the plan is to head down to KC. It's Yanks, Kansas City, Game 3. Papa L is going down with Junior and the bunny, Uncle Andy, and Chan, the nephew. So I'm with a car full of Yankee fans. It's all good. It's going to be a good ball game tomorrow night. We're going to go check out the Royals. Haven't gotten to Major League Baseball yet this year. So we're going tomorrow. And I'll check in barbecue. Barbecue before is what we're going to do. So I think there's obviously your Gates, your Joes, and I'm saving room for probably a lot of ribs.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
You go to Kansas City, you get ribs.
Absolutely.
End of discussion.
Well, here in studio, we'll be holding it down. We're going to throw Justice into the fire and force him to both co-host and produce. Going to show him how hard my daily life truly is. Just how horrible this job is. He's gonna figure it out tomorrow.
I can't quite top Uncle Mark from the World Series last year. That was great. But I can get to postseason baseball and Uncle Mark from New York before they went to a Yankees game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a C. Schmidt on the mound for the Yankees tomorrow.
So we'll see. We'll get the check-in from the bullpen as C. Schmidt makes the warm-up pitches tomorrow. 4:40, is that whenever you'll be making your warm-up?
You know, I don't know if... Yeah, right. It and me. We go with Carson. Carson's got the live arm. Give him the heater, Ricky. All right, back at you tomorrow at 4. Thanks for tuning in to Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.